Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the Update Winged Lions dev server, and it's time to have a look at the M41D. This is a new vehicle which is coming to China in Update Winged Lions, and it's going to be a standard tech tree vehicle. It's going to be between the M48 and also the M60, obviously part of the kind of Taiwanese line of things, and at 8.0 it has a pretty stellar lineup already to contend with. It's got obviously the PTL02, the TOW, which is obviously the weak part of the lineup, the WZ305, which is a lot of fun, the Type 59, and also the Type 69 as well. So this is another light tank added to this lineup, which should be fantastic. The M41D is an upgraded version of the one that you find in the German and also the Japanese and American tech tree, but it does also have some downgrades as well. The gun is a 76mm M32K1. It is unstabilized, which isn't great, but it isn't too bad when it comes to its general firepower. Also has the 4-man crew in the machine, so the driver and then 3 in the turret, shows survivability probably isn't great. Also has a first stage ammo stowage of 11 pieces, which is quite nice, so you'll be able to fire them at around about 6.8 with the crew that I have. It is manually loaded, so the base is 7.6 and you can get it down to just below 6, which is lovely. Then here come the downgrades. So we've had one of the upgrades, which is the 76mm, and then one of the downgrades, which is the engine. The engine is 360 horsepower at 2100 RPM. It's actually a diesel engine from Detroit, I believe. And if you have a look at the other engine, which is available on the other Bulldogs, you will find it is 500 horsepower at 2800 RPM. You'll also note that this Bulldog is 23 tons, whereas the Chinese one is 25. So this one is chunkier and also has a worse engine, so it's a lot slower than its contemporaries. This is much more of a light tank this is much more of a medium tank than its other predecessors, which are already pretty medium tanky when it comes to the size. The place where this thing gets let down is of course the armor. Only 31 degrees on the lower glacis, 25 on the upper, and 31 and 25 on the top. You're not stopping any rounds with this thing. The Bulldog does not have good armor, it never has, and because it's a large vehicle, it can easily get killed. Has a 50 cal on the top and also a coaxial 17.62, which is quite nice. A very good turret rotation speed and also incredibly good gun depression. One of the things that the upgraded gun actually gives this is access to APF-SDS in the form of the M464 round. Now this is only 76mm APF-SDS, but still will do a ton of damage, still will work out very well for the vehicle because it pens 311, 262, 180. The only thing you got to be careful of is the projectile mass, which is only 1.68, so the spread of the round after going through the vehicle may not be the best, so you need to make sure to shoot your shots perfectly. Then you do have thermals on the machine. It does have thermals for the gunner. They seem to be Gen 3. I don't know if they're supposed to be Gen 3, but they're incredibly good. Very, very clear when it comes to it. And then also this thing gets a laser rangefinder, so shooting stuff at range with the penetration of the M464 will be really nice to use on the machine. The standard round that this machine gets is Heat FS as well, so you don't have to deal with any of the APs, which might not pen a lot of the heavy tanks that you find around these BRs, and you also get a HE if you want a meme, but generally not going to be too useful. Smoke grenades are also abound. It gets 12 of them, which is really nice, and also gets access to smoke shells if you want to use them, and also gets access to scouting. So this thing gets a lot of really nice features on it. It's just a real shame about the engine on this machine, otherwise it would be pretty powerful. I would trade the engine stuff for, of course, something like a stabilizer, but unfortunately this thing has neither, which I'll show you the mobility of it as it goes around. It is really not that mobile when it comes to the general vehicle, which definitely leaves it in a bit of an odd place when it comes to its overall use. But I feel like this vehicle will still have a place. You know, the PTL02 obviously has really good thermals, which is nice, but it is wheeled, so it doesn't have as good of a time on muddy or snowy conditions. You can see the traverse isn't great on this machine, but the general turret rotation is quite nice. And then, if you have a look at the thermals, bang, they are incredibly good. Either Gen 2 or Gen 3. My guess is Gen 3 when it comes to the vehicle right now. One of the things to note as well with the laser means that you can just laze things from miles away, so there's a hurry production up there. I don't know why they've picked that one to be the end vehicle when it comes to the Japanese on the test drive, but there you go. And you can see the amount of damage that this round does is not the best. It's oranging a lot of crew, it's redding a lot of crew, it isn't doing, you know, a ton of stuff around the place, so yeah, you're gonna have to pick your shots pretty well when using this machine. Once again, oranging a bunch of parts. I actually found on firing at the Cheeto over here that it wasn't doing the best damage. You can see it takes out 3 crew, reds another, and the engine, where normally if you used a round of this BR it would annihilate. So you can see with the general movement of the machine, it's still okay on rough terrain, but it's nothing to really write home about. There's a lot of really chunky machines in this update is probably the way to put it, with stuff like the Challenger 2 TES coming in, which is an incredibly chunky machine, and then this thing, which is going to struggle with its power to weight. That's going to be really rough. One of the problems with having chunky machines is their weight doesn't really increase as you get more modifications. Sometimes you have like packages, like armor packages, but this thing doesn't, right? It still is the same weight stock as it is spaded. So you're really hoping to get that engine and those transmission upgrades, otherwise this thing is going to be slow as all hell. And you can see already, this is it fully spaded. We are struggling to get up to 30 kilometers an hour. This is a light tank with scouting, by the way. It is just so chunky. But the question is, will you have enough speed at 8.0 to be able to get into positions quickly and be able to use this APFSDS at range and also scout individuals that are going around? And I think the question is, look at that damage. I think the question is, sometimes it's going to really be map dependent when it comes to this vehicle on how it's able to approach, you know, certain ways of playing. But generally, I think I would still take the PTL02 over this, just because the PTL02, even though it has a little bit less armor, it has a very powerful gun and also very powerful thermals. So it's a little bit rough on this machine. I can actually see it going down in BR. If this thing didn't have thermals, it would probably be the same BR as the standard Bulldog, which is really sad to say. I still think it has a place in the game though. It's still going to be fun to play. It's just the mobility of it is so bad on the dev server. I hope it's improved a little bit. Otherwise, we're talking about a tank which is going to get outsped by most medium tanks, and it's a light tank, and it doesn't have a stabilizer, and it also lacks a little bit of damage when it comes to the gun. I'm still looking forward to playing it, but right now I'm not as impressed as I thought I would be when it comes to the vehicle. I thought it would be one of those which I would want to grind first off, but instead I'm probably going to look for the Israeli tech tree first. The reload's still good, the laser's still good, the APFSDS is fine enough, but in general it's one of those which I'm definitely going to put on the back burner. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.